to see you that
right,
way.
so
All right.
Here we are.
Sorry.
A little bit of the
Now-
And I'd really like to know more about you, but because we're like,
We're gonna backtrack and actually do the intro now.
Yeah, we gotta kick it off.
I apologize.
Yeah.
We are super talky.
Can hear everybody. It was a great story. I love it. I love it. 3, 2, 1, go!
So, motherfuckers, welcome to Necro Electric. I'm your host, Sean D. Skellington. This is my beautiful bride, Kylie, with her Don't Tread on Me uterus t-shirt. And over here, Scream Fernandez with her bangerangs.
Bangerangs. Oscar said I looked like the girl from Diane would. And I was like, no, I don't.
You got more of, what's that chick we had in here? Blizzard?
Danielle?
Yeah, you got a more
Oh, yay!
Blizzard vibe
Danielle. Okay, cool.
Today we got a very special guest. I was very excited about this one.
Yay.
The only thing is, I have trouble pronouncing your store's name.
That's actually really funny that you say that, because one of the reasons why we added House of Curiosities to the name is because no one can remember the first part of it.
I always say Arcanum.
Close enough.
Yeah.
So the original name of the shop and even the entity that it was when it started is Curia Arcanum, and it comes from the Latin word curia, which began in Rome to designate your non-blood family. That was your curia. And then over time it became more generically used just to mean any group of people getting together to talk about whatever the specific topic, subject, matter, whatever it was. Bam, the curia got together.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Arcanum, English word meaning mysteries or secrets. So together it becomes, the Council of Mysteries or Council
Cool.
of Secrets. So that was originally how it started, and how it started was, golly, how many years ago was it now? About 14 years ago now.
Yeah.
It was basically kind of a esoteric, mystics, everything under the sun you can imagine, kind of study group. A bunch of friends, each one of us kind of had our own lane, our own interests. And at first we just kind of started as almost book club. We'd make recommendations to each other, and then we just go a little bit further, like, let's all go to the OTO Oasis, and see
And
what
you
they're
each kind
going
of had
on.
your
And-
specialty, right?
and we did.
Yeah.
We did. Each one of us, whether it was into Western occult or Eastern mysticism or whatever it was, it all kind of came together. But
It's like
then
the
it was
League
more
of
than
Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes.
that.
Nice.
It was that.
Very nice.
But it kind of also encompassed everything from art to philosophy, psychology, you name it. It was basically and it's one of those things that hits you in hindsight as far as what was the common denominator. But it really was anything that dealt with imagination, and really kind of stirring that faculty and getting it going.
Thus our shop's quote.
So so we kind of adopted the.
Rude.
No, we could just. That.
Jesus.
Time's up. That's it.
That's okay. I'm probably going to be guilty of that in about 5 minutes.
That was just YouTube turning on. It wasn't even.
Even better.
That was weird.
Oh, the quote.
But I'll get to that in a second. Where was I going? Oh yeah, so we kept it that way for the longest time, and we had, even through our original shop location, we maintained that name. And then when we moved, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he pronounced the name of the shop wrong.
Oh.
And
You're
it
like,
was
no,
that
no, no.
point where I'm like, man, you've heard this from me like multiple times now. And if you can't get that right,
You were
and you're
married to
into
someone
this,
in marketing.
Yeah, you're into this stuff. So I knew, all right, we better add something else to it.
Curiosities.
Yeah.
And so House of Arcanums, House of Curiosities.
Which, by the way, we snagged www.houseofcuriosities.com.
Nice.
That was a coup.
It was one of those things, like somebody was trying to sell it for like $1,000. Like they didn't even own it. They were just trying to sell it. And it was a purchase domain.
Yeah.
It was about to be released, about to be available.
Somebody let it lapse.
Yeah, somebody must have screwed up. I mean,
Snatched
how?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'm counting down the days for that. There's this service that's going to sell it for $1,000. And I'm even thinking at that point, well, it's an investment
It's
in the
worth
shop
it.
and all of that. Day comes, it's available. I go to the hosting service that I use. I type it in to see if it's available. $11.99.
And who told you to check? Who told you to check? Because I was like, let's just check it one more time.
Score.
Because it's worth it.
That's awesome.
And by the way, then it's Katlynn?
Katlynn, actually.
And
Yeah.
Francis.
Yes.
I was born before the Caitlyn craze.
And their shop is in Austin, Texas.
Sorry, the longest
yeah.
possible intro because we.
One of the things I warn people about when they come into the shop is I even tell them, I say, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I warn you ahead of time. I ramble. So if you have a question, take a seat because
Get your notebook.
So here's just to make it easy.
Pack a lunch.
To make it,
That's great.
I'm going to make it easy for everybody. So technically his name is like the longest name in the world because we
Yes.
took each other's names when we got married as well. So he is Francis Houston Blakely Suchomel III.
Holy shit.
And
Wow.
I am Katlynn Rose Blakely Suchomel the first.
The first.
But
Why don't
First.
first add that
But-
to the end of their name?
when people come in just to make life easier, I'm like Frank and Cat, like Frankenstein. Because
There
it's
you
just
go.
easier,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cute.
That
I
is
mean,
cute.
yeah.
Remember it.
And people remember it. I mean, it's
I'm
not
going to
as
put your
like,
full
you know,
names in the title.
You should,
We'll have to scroll.
there'll be no
It's just
room.
like going across the screen at the bottom.
Either that or it'll be like just the tiniest type.
Well, since this is your first time on the show, we do a thing called Who the Hell Are You? Where we break the ice
Yes.
and we talk about a few things. This week we're playing Did You Know again. All right.
Did you know?
So I'm
No.
going to spout off a few things and you guys can let me know if you've ever heard of these things and what you think. All right. Did you know that the first rubber dildo had been traced back to 1850
I did not know.
and it appeared in a movie in 1930?
I
What
knew
was the movie?
Wow.
That's a good
The
question.
movie.
I knew dildos were that old, but I didn't know that they were that old.
They were
I'm
called
not
marital
surprised.
aids.
Well,
Marital
yes.
aids.
Yes. I'm not surprised.
And what year was that?
The first one was traced back to 1850.
But people were using things before that were just not called that.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get
I don't wanna
creative,
think
right?
about what they used before that.
But
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have our own background in that area. Like,
Oh, that's
And
true.
rubber
we
dildo.
both have, well,
Well, I worked.
I have a marketing background and
You'll-
I worked with some interesting.
And for me, you'll probably have to cut this out.
Oh, we don't call
Probably
it
not.
Fly.
Well, then
Probably not.
Well, no, I say cut it out for
Okay.
so that they don't be like, hey, he's talking shit about us. Because
Because they're in Austin.
they're in
based.
Austin.
Oh, okay.
I left not in the best.
And
What are the-
he,
It was one.
it
of
was
the-
a brilliant letter, though.
It was probably the only job I quit where I wrote a resignation.
It was like a Jerry Maguire
It was like
moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
But let me just put it to you this way, and I'll leave it in very, very generic terms. So I'm not naming names. I'm not saying who it was.
You know
but
who you are.
there's a well-known male sex toy company that I
There's
did
a lot of
programming
those.
for,
Ah, there you go.
software development for their e-commerce stuff, and I'll
So you
just leave
saw
it at
some
that.
shit.
Oh, we both have seen some shit.
Oh my god, I could tell you some
I
stories.
did
but
some
I
work
won't.
with, and I can't believe I'm saying this because so my day job, I can't tell you all of that because some of it's secret, but I work as a senior copywriter and an experience designer.
Mm-hmm.
I work for EPAM, but my client is a major tech company, and I'm not allowed to discuss that part. But I have worked in the past for companies like Hustler. I just don't put that in my resume or in my LinkedIn, and I don't mean posing, by the way. Which is, by the way, nothing wrong. It's just it just wasn't. It's just not something. I was really flattered though when they asked me. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was in my 40s and now I'm 50, so they were like, "Yeah, would you consider?" And I'm like, "I would consider it, but No, but thank you. But yeah, so we both have our stories back there. I think we all do. It's just that not all of us like admit to it. But the short answer is I had no idea that was like,
and now we're learning history.
and now I feel like we are missing out by not seeing this video.
I know.
we
I
gotta
have to
figure out
go
what
track
think
down
we have
this
to-
1930s rubber dildo movie.
I think we need to find it now.
Google.
Please Google that.
So, I mean, how much is that
1930s.
dildo worth to now at this
Now
point?
that would be a hell of a
Real
curiosity.
As an oddity,
Yeah.
Could you mold it and make more?
Probably.
Probably.
yeah,
Probably.
I wouldn't touch it though.
No.
That's an excellent icebreaker question.
Did you
Oh,
guys?
there's more.
Do you guys know that high heels were actually originally designed for men in the 10th century?
I didn't know
Ooh.
the timing, but I did know that they were designed for men.
I
It was
didn't know
originally designed
that.
to help keep your feet in the stirrups.
I did not know that though. I thought it was just a fashion thing because, like, you know, back in the day, some men were like much more peacocky than we are. I mean,
Yeah.
they were like all like,
Yeah.
With the wigs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, did you guys know there was a Colombian woman who carried a mummified fetus in her uterus for 40 years?
No.
I did know that.
No,
I did
no.
hear about
I did.
And the
that.
fetus was completely.
What?
Was
I heard about that.
calcified.
Yeah, yeah.
How did that not make her super sick?
So what
Well, I
year
think
was
it did
this?
She was
eventually,
82
right?
when they removed it.
Yeah.
So she had it in her for 40 years.
I did read, and I think it was like this last year or two that I read about that.
Did she
and that
not
was
know?
bizarre.
She didn't know.
Is
She
there
didn't
a
know.
charging rent joke in there?
I mean, can you imagine not knowing? That's like the longest time that anyone's ever carried a child.
I just got the
probably.
heebie-jeebies. I just like,
I mean-
oh
And
no.
other parents think the child's teenage years are difficult.
I just as a curiosity shop owner, we were actually on our way here, and one of the people we follow was selling a fetal skull and a fetal skeleton, and I was like, you know, right now we just have like emptied out our wallets on some other curiosities, and we were like, oh wow, that would be really cool. So it's kind of interesting we're talking about this because I was just thinking, man, I wonder how much that
Maybe it's a
mummified
sign.
fetus is worth right
Yeah.
now. Can you imagine?
The latest find, though, I can't wait. Anyway,
Oh, the latest. Are you talking about which find?
the one that I dropped way too much money on.
Oh,
Can
that
we
one.
know?
You can know, yeah. So one of the things that I'm working on building out more is our collection of like secret society and occult memorabilia.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I just recently acquired that I'm like completely over the moon about is, well, crap, I gotta tell the backstory. At least just like give me 30 seconds backstory on this.
Here we go.
So, occultist A.E. Waite. Most people know like A.E. Waite came from the Golden Dawn and
Yeah.
you know that whole lineage of things. So in the 1920s, him and like a very small tight group of other people decided that they wanted to create kind of a super order, an order kind of overseeing other orders, even being an oversight over other Masonic orders and things like that. So they prepared a couple rituals, initiatory rituals for this order. They were held onto pretty tightly. They were not publicly released by any stretch of the imagination, so much so that one person who wrote a book about A.E. Waite and this particular lineage that these rituals come from, in the book that he wrote about it even stated, I've got these rituals, and basically they'll never see the light of day, they'll never be reprinted, as long as they're in my possession. They're not going to be in his. So
he
yes, they
croak?
will be in my possession. My possession pretty soon. So,
That is so
just
fucking
totally
cool.
Yeah.
That is so
choice.
cool.
We're
The
really
original
excited about it.
typeset,
Well,
rituals for it. So
I don't know why I say but as a tarot reader, I follow a lot about A.E. Waite and also like Aleister Crowley, and I want to get my hands on one of his tarot decks that he created that's very limited and they're kind of expensive. And so that whole Order of the Golden Dawn, all of that is so fucking fascinating to me. So that is bonkers cool.
You should tell her about the books that survived the fire.
Yes. So one of the, and well, I'll get to that in just a second. So, but yes, you've got A.E. Waite who was doing that, and then Crowley with the Book of Thoth, and Lady Frida Harris who did the artwork for that, which is like, oh my God, there's
so cool.
Show me a tarot deck that is better artwork than Frida Harris.
I know, right?
She just like fucking nailed it.
So good.
And if you read Lon Milo Duquette's book on Crowley's Book of Thoth, at the beginning of each chapter is excerpts of letter correspondence between Frida Harris and Crowley. And it gets really amusing sometimes.
Yeah.
Because Crowley is Crowley. And, so of course, as the legend goes, she had to do, sometimes 3 or 4, different paintings of the same card to be to Crowley's,
specificities. Yeah.
Yes. But speaking of Crowley, so another thing that we had that survived the fire, and this was a trip.
Just so you know that why it was in our house, because the house is burned down, not the shop, the old shop. Yeah. So when we knew we were moving, we started packing up stuff and bringing a lot of stuff from the shop that was worth something to the house. And this was one of the things that was there, and
we
survived.
had it on the top of a bookshelf.
In the front room.
In the front room, and everything else on that shelf, either got water, heat, or
melted,
fire damage.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what
the
it is
back
in a
burned
second.
down completely.
But it was a couple of books, and I'll tell you what these books were in a second. They were in a black, like
plastic, like a heavy duty plastic.
Bags, when you put it in the bag, give it to him. So it was in one of the black bags, and the heat had melted the bag, not too much, not too little, just enough to seal around
yes,
the
it
book.
vacuum sealed
If it had melted more, it would have melted.
It would have damaged it.
Books.
Yeah,
but any less, the water damage.
Yeah.
Got to it.
So, but it perfectly sealed.
Just kind of laminated
books.
it.
Yeah.
So that, when it was time, it was like okay, and then open up the bag. And perfect.
And this is one of those things where it was one of the first things with the fire where we were like after we got out, because that's how fast it was. We were lucky to get out with ourselves and our lives.
Do you know?
Old dryer,
faulty wiring. It's a very old building.
Exhaust. It wasn't that. It was literally
just bad wiring.
The wiring
old
in the dryer.
Yeah.
It was probably 30,
and it was
40-year-old
it was through the ceiling. Like this was a building from like 1920s to 40s.
Should I say what the book was really quick?
Oh yes! Oh my God! Let's sorry.
We
do
can
that.
go on tangents all day. But it was the very first printing of Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Crowley's Book 4.
Shut up! That is so cool.
I know, right?
In 1912, Volume 1, 1913, Volume 2. Volume 1, they only made 500 copies of ever.
God,
so this was like
which is why it's in our gallery. It's not for sale.
It's so interesting because he was absolutely fucking bonkers, but he did such he really had a really huge influence on the occult community, and just
no doubt.
I mean, just in general, like there's a lot of things that people still reference to Crowley, and you're just like, he was bonkers, but this is great.
Oh, totally. But some of the most interesting people were totally bonkers. Oh my God,
One of the things that for the longest time I was on the fence, and no offense to any Thelemites out there, but I was on the fence as far as, God, is the OTO kind of a cult? I mean, it's
they definitely were
very, very like Crowley centric.
They were.
And then I spoke to Lon Milo Duquette, and I went to go see him talk, and then exchanged a few words with him afterwards, and he just at the very beginning was very plain in saying, Aleister Crowley, brilliant person. Terrible human being.
Terrible human being.
Like,
so bad.
Hey, you can talk shit about the person who started this. All right. So you already have a one anti-cult, check mark. You can talk trash.
Right. If you're allowed to do that and live or not disappear,
then
Probably not cult.
You know, well, or you're cult light. No, I'm not saying.
I always see
light.
if your leader is banging all the chicks, you're in a cult.
And the men.
Pretty much.
And the men. He liked the men's too.
That's true.
Or
That's
you're on a
true.
TV reality show. It's going to be one.
Yeah.
Modern
Yeah.
cult. Yeah.
Oh, but the fire. So this was weird. So we were in the process of buying a place for the shop and for our home, and we wanted to live above the shop, which we do. So we found this place. It took a lot of searching. We had some really great ideas, but just because of the way commercial mortgages are and everything else, we had to find the right fit for us. And we can talk about that part, like because that was weird. The shop, you never would guess in a million years. Like at first, we're like, we would never pick the shop in a million years. And we walked in, we're like, oh, I can see it.
Yeah.
I know, that was the worst part. Cause
I know the moment we walked in,
God
but
damn it.
while we're like putting the money down on this, our house that we're renting, thank God, and we had renter's insurance, but it burned down. We lost obviously a lot, and that was the heartbreaking part because a lot of the stuff is, as you know,
Right.
irreplaceable.
Yeah.
That's the heartbreaking part
Lots
for
of
us,
taxes.
and stuff that where maybe it wasn't even worth money, but it's worth something to us, like
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but it was over our heads, and we didn't know it before. It was like, we need to get out. Once we realized that it had gone whoosh, because the houses back then were built so well, they had to like saw through the ceiling. It's like a hard wood. It's not like where they could just like break
Plaster,
down.
yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
So the
wood
fire,
planks,
and it's
they're up there
made,
with a saw.
it's made for ventilation. So it just went right over our heads, and it hit the trolley bus. So that we had a Dillo that we were renovating to turn into. We were renovating a Dillo trolley from the 90s to turn into a traveling curiosity shop, and we had decided since we bought this other place that we were going to sell it. At this point, we were going to sell it, and we had buyers lined up, and then we had the fire, and it got some fire damage, and we're like, fuck, so. And we're like, yeah, but we're alive and everything else. So we're like, well, we'll figure out what we're going to do with it. And we did.
But now the good news is, it's getting a second life. When
we
all that
renovated
went
it.
Down, I started talking with Corey from HorrorWeb, who's doing Bat City Scaregrounds.
Oh, cool.
Just
They're
kind of on the
amazing
Austin,
people.
Buda,
Yeah.
Final Frontier there. He's like, yeah, you should totally bring it out here. And I'm like, holy crap, I was actually going to ask. So,
Yeah.
so I've been.
It's
I've been
what we were
working on
talking
that
about.
and, getting that ready. So, really, really excited
That is
about
cool.
it.
Yeah, he's been working so hard on it. I have to get my ass over there and help out. But it's amazing because it's kind of what we were talking about before about how like these really bad, crazy things happen, and then we're just like, all right, well, we're gonna
Shit
turn
happens.
it to our benefit, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let's make tequila or whatever. I don't know, but
When
yeah.
life gives you-
When I don't know. I was trying to go somewhere with that, and then I was like, it took a turn, and I'm just going to pretend I'm just going to go with it.
Oh,
But no. But yeah, and then that was the thing where we were talking to y'all earlier about okay, the month after that, I was diagnosed with invasive breast cancer, and that really was like screech, because we knew we were in for a long haul. We knew we would get through it, like we just did. We don't believe in it. Like again, we were talking about I don't want to do the toxic positivity thing, but we're also like, we got this. We got great friends. We got great support, and we found out who was really, there for us, and we found our real. We always thought we had a real family, and those people. It was nice to confirm that. Like these people are our family, more so than our real family in a lot of ways. Sorry, Mom.
Shout out.
But yeah, right.
Well, I feel
Sorry.
like-
Shout out to Mom. I'm not really worried about her watching this. She's a hardcore evangelical. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, like a lot of us have that history. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But the point just being that we still got this together, and I say the royal we, but it was Frank. Frank did such an amazing job, and we had lots of really great help and wonderful people, and even just again, can't say enough about also just HorrorWeb in general, and those people just did such a great job. Even before we moved, just with events and stuff like that.
They would come out to the events that we used to do when we were right next door with Joey.
Yeah.
With the glass coffin. And man, they would
They're
always
good
come out.
people.
They'd bring their team. They'd all be in costumes.
And they'd all
have
be in the
amazing
A
photo
game.
op backdrops.
Yeah.
It was
Awesome.
just,
Yeah.
they-
And it wasn't about the
they're
money.
amazing.
And that's the thing I think with all of us. So all of us in the oddities community, and I think like we feel that way about you too, even though we're all just getting to know each other, is that, in the oddities and curiosities community, we're all family, and we don't feel like it's a competition. We feel like we're all there to build each other up.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's a big
Exactly.
thing
Definitely
for
feel that.
us.
The week.
Yeah.
We're
It's
all a bunch
all
of weirdos, and we got to.
we're all a bit of weirdos. Like
Yeah.
I always say, like the Isle of Misfit Toys. Like I grew up getting bullied and having all that stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of us had like these really weird, or a lot of us grew up with evangelical families and whatever
Yeah.
else. But like the point being that just like we're all families, all these oddities and curiosities, and we all just fit together.
Yeah, it's funny you say that.
Yeah.
Like, we moved here. We have absolutely no family here, no friends here when we moved here like 3 years ago. And this whole creating this store has just created this whole big community and this
Yes.
family for us to where like I don't feel homesick. Sorry, Mom, I love you. But
Same.
yeah,
Well, and I feel like
Same.
you guys kind of went through different things, but when you guys first opened the store, COVID hit like what,
10
a
days
week,
later.
10 days
Oh
later.
my God.
And so they had to shut down, but I feel like talking about knowing who your real friends are, like the amount of support that came out with them, they were still doing curbside and selling masks and all of this stuff. And so like
Yes.
we felt like we had to band together to really get the word out about them, to be like, hey, like they're still open, still
I was
get
in my
stuff
room
from
selling
them.
masks till
Definitely.
3 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
feel
God, yes.
I always say that they were all under rocks here,
Oh yeah.
all afraid to
Yes.
come out, and then when
Yeah.
we came out, they all came
They're
out,
like-
and then when
Like
we
spiders.
hit, they're like, we can't let them go down.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah.
We got hold on real quick.
And
Do we got
that's
time for an
great.
ad?
Yeah.
Pause.
Speaking of curiosities, this episode is brought to you by Skellington Curiosities. Skellington Curiosities is the only curiosities and oddity shop in Waco, Texas, full of clothing, lingerie, accessories, oddities, and everyday curiosities. A spooky vibe 365. Visit us online at skellingtoncuriosities.com.
Boom.
Nice.
Boom.
Boom.
Dude, I'm intrigued by your guys' like, what is your band called, or does it just go by your names?
We actually, so our band goes by, we use Katlynn, Rose, and Francis Houston, but the band name is The Muse and the Martyr. And The Muse and the
cool.
Martyr came out
That's cool.
because, that like we fell in love with the name because it's a song name from a band that's no longer together called Chaska. Chaska was like a glam rock band. They were big in
Love
San
glam
Marcos.
rock.
They were big here.
They
I lived
were
in San Marcos for
amazing
big.
live.
They were amazing live. They married us live on Halloween.
Did they?
If you want to see something really interesting that
Oh
Frank will
my
hate
God.
that I'm bringing up, but it's awesome anyway.
Embarrassing. Do it.
So we had two weddings, both on the 1st, but technically one was after midnight on Halloween at Triple Crown before it closed down with Chaska. And because they're good friends of ours, they
Nice.
brought us on stage. And we even had my best friend flew out from LA, and he was wearing like, he had like the cod piece with
Clockwork
the
Orange.
Clockwork Orange.
Druidie.
He had the rings and the cod piece
So
and
when
all
he went to
that.
hand us the rings, he was like,
It's like, yeah. So it's very blue
Nice.
humor. There's no nudity, although I don't think you guys would probably care about that, but some people do. But it's very blue humor and and it's a lot of fun, and it's on YouTube.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah,
Okay.
if you look up Chaska and Halloween wedding,
Yeah.
that's us.
Oh, hell
so,
yeah.
We're Halloween
Super
yeah.
cool.
wedding buddies. We were married on Devil's Night.
30th.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
Man.
Yeah.
Should have got married in
Yeah.
October.
all
Yeah.
our
She had a
anniversary-
Renaissance wedding though.
I did. Well, D&D themed, but yeah.
I love that. Oh, see, I grew up playing D&D, so
See,
yeah.
did you roll to see if the vows took?
Nice.
We should have. We should have. That's what we should have done.
Oh, crap, saving through.
Yeah, that's my husband's the Magic the Gathering D&D person. I support from afar. I mean, I like playing D&D, but I'm like, yeah.
But you look so cute with your little elf ears.
I
and your
did.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
Yeah, and everybody dressed up, and
I love that.
Yeah, it was
Oscar
super
had a
super
suit of
fun.
armor.
Oh my God.
He did,
See,
yeah.
back when
Little
we were
ranger
kids,
suit.
we didn't have all that support. Like, as far as, like, we had the game, but you would do your drawing and everything on your character. We didn't, like, you might dress up a little bit, but it was kind of hard to because you didn't have a lot of money. I mean, I think I was like 12 or 13 when I started playing D&D, and in the
Very
suburbs of
Stranger
Chicago,
Things.
because I grew up there, and then I lived in New York City for 20 years. So I like I said, I'm 50, so we're talking about the late 70s, early 80s. So we didn't have like these amazing like shops and attitude and stuff like that you have now, where you can just like find elf ears. Like, I don't even know where we'd find elf ears back then. And now it's like, I know several people that can get us some elf ears.
Yeah.
What elf ears? I'll have them here by 4 o'clock.
Right, exactly. I can get you some custom made fangs. Really,
Yeah.
Like for real, we can. Like,
Yeah, we know.
don't do them, but we know people who do.
Yeah, we do too. And
I'm sure.
they were supposed
It
to
might be
come
the same
here, and I was
people.
very
And
disappointed.
that's a big thing with the oddities community too.
Yes.
Is like, if you don't have it, you know someone who does,
Totally.
and
Right.
you have no problem telling these
No.
people, like sending them other people's way. You
We
know?
said we have our artist cards because we're
Yeah.
like, look, we try to keep our prices as close to theirs as possible, but also people realize we're a boutique shop, so sometimes we have to raise things a little bit.
Yeah.
But we want people to like keep going to our artists and to these people. We want to support the community, and they've supported
We put their
us.
cards right out next
That's
to
yeah.
us.
We'll
That's
put
the
the
same
cards
thing
right
we do,
out.
yeah.
And we were talking earlier about like, the community and having local artists and how important that is to us. Something we're going to continue to do. We also have a no assholes policy.
Yes, we need one of those.
Like we're not here. Like of course we want to make money, and hopefully it'll be like a retirement thing for us. But it's not. It's the most important thing first is the atmosphere of the shop, the people that are in it, what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish, and that means no assholes.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that will
But
bring
you
you down.
really have to try.
I mean,
like,
that's the other thing. You could be an eccentric curmudgeon, and we're great with that.
Yeah.
Like, we love our curmudgeons.
There's a line though.
yeah.
There is a
I find
line.
it somewhat amusing though. Like I had a lady come in the other day, and she stomped right up to the thing because we throw free events. We don't charge people to come to our events.
Yeah, same.
And as far as like the booth fees and stuff go, we charge the least amount, and we don't make people sign contracts for multiple dates
That's
because
awesome.
we try to make it fun for everybody, and
Yeah.
we're always
Yeah.
trying to have new performers, new things, right? So every once in a while we'll get like a review, like I went to their event, it wasn't that great.
I wasn't impressed.
Or whatever, we're like, it's a
God.
free event. Like,
It's a
you
yeah,
had
right.
sword swallowers and
I'm
magicians.
sorry you
and
weren't impressed with the belly dancer balancing a fucking sword on her head. Okay,
right?
and I had a lady,
Let me see you
am
do
not
it.
impressed.
I had a lady stomp right in, and she came right up to the counter, and she was like, "I've seen your store online." She's like, "It's not as big as it looks online." And then
my
she just
God.
turned
She
around
left?
and walked off, and I was like, okay.
We had a woman at an event that I won't tell
Sore
the whole.
spot.
We had a woman at the event who was really upset that she couldn't. She came all the way out from pretty far away to do something.
This one.
Yeah, who did
Different
you think it was
one.
going to
Which one are you
be?
thinking
I don't
about?
know. But
No, I'm
He's got the
curious. Wait, we need a conference here. This girl,
I know.
lady, I shouldn't say girl. That's terrible. It's just my
Small child.
Yes, everybody's like younger to me.
we're old.
You don't look
I mean,
old though.
You
But we
don't.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thank you. It's. I always say it's the
Vampires.
blood of virgins, but they're getting harder to come by. And actually, so my marketing side, we did create a shirt that says, "Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Bathory." So
Yes.
There you go.
I
so we
love
did the
it.
design, and I was like, we got to write the quote. I
Yeah.
mean, but yeah, this woman. So we did events too, and I think we sometimes did have a charge, but we didn't. It wasn't much, if it ever was.
I mean, there were times where we had like, but
There was so much free stuff
and
and a lot of the
Yeah.
entertainment, and we would spend like.
they weren't even paying entry. I think.
No, there were no entry
It was
fees.
like
There was no
another-
entry fee. It was like, you guys,
Yeah,
no entry
special.
fee. And same, but the point was that like we spent more than we expected to make because it wasn't about the making the money. It was about getting our name out there in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so we'd have these events together with the Glass Coffin, Joey Slane, who is amazing. They're
Shout out.
Has a new
fantastic.
shop
Shout
he's
out
working
to
on.
Glass Coffin, and
he
they're
should be
coming
opening
back.
right around
So we're
Halloween.
super excited about that.
Nice.
We partnered with them in the sense of like we both had our own shops, but they were literally right next to each other. And so it was fantastic. We put these events on together. Oh, my stomach's grumbling. I'm so sorry. I just started talking about the blood of virgins. And anyway, yeah. Yeah, this one woman for this one event was really upset because we found out like what she meant by what she had said. I don't know if you want me to say it or not.
Say it, say it,
Yeah.
say
Okay,
it.
so we had an event, and a woman decided that she was gonna, and
it wasn't even
apparently
our event technically, but it was on our
yeah.
property, and so therefore it reflects on us.
She was gonna, basically, long story short, she was going to do a live sex act, and
But
which
we
is
didn't
fine,
know.
But here's the thing. It's an outdoors event.
It-
It's all ages. There's a school
It
right
faces
across
the
the
school.
street. There's a school right across the street.
Yeah.
It
faces the school.
It faces the
I've
street.
seen a lot of red flags.
People walking
Yeah.
by, there's nothing preventing them just from sidewalk,
Right.
looking right over where
Yeah.
the stage area is and seeing it.
Private event, totally cool. This
So
was not that.
How we ended up finding out that this was about to happen was
Oh, no.
purely accidental. I mean, this is something that it was like
And we don't even
Oh my
have to
God,
get.
if
I don't
we-
want
if,
people to
like,
get upset. It was
if-
not like
just the stars hadn't aligned for us to find
Yeah.
out. This would have gone bad.
It would have happened.
really
Yeah.
fucking fast.
Well, and this community,
So
like,
it's-
we are all in the Bible belt buckle. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you don't,
Right.
you know, you have a target on you if things are getting better,
Yeah.
but like, you don't
Yeah.
want to just throw it out there. Like, hey, here's a naked chick to come shut us
Yeah.
down.
right. And you know, there's huge crossover with the burlesque community. I
Yeah.
did burlesque when I was 20 in San Francisco.
burlesque is different.
We have no. Well,
than
my point just
what
is being that like all this stuff is totally cool. We just want to make sure we're very pro sex. We're very pro sex worker. Even
Yeah.
it was just context and the type of
Location.
event
Yes,
and
there's a
location.
time and a
The
place.
And
legality
we're
of
like,
it would have
oh no,
gone
it would have been
very-
really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was one of those where we had to turn around and be like, I'm sure you're lovely, but she was pissed. She was so mad. How dare you
And
not
then
let
you
me get
probably
off?
screened
from-
people a lot
Yeah.
closer.
I'll take you to the back
Yeah.
room.
Well, that was the funny thing. It
Another
wasn't.
room.
We normally screen people really heavily, but this wasn't our event. This was one of those rare times where we let a mutual friend, all of us, were like, cool, use our property, and she's a lovely person. She puts on some great events, but it also reflects on us, even though we're letting people use it. So of course, and that's when we learned that, like what you're saying, you have to vet people even if they're not yours,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like because it's on your property.
Yep.
So
Well, at the end of the day, it's
your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
the
your
the
name.
story in the newspaper will have your name on
Yeah.
it.
And that's what
Yeah.
and that's what happened. I mean, we got in trouble with our landlord for an event where because it was like, oh, and yeah. And we now own our own building, so
Good.
yes,
Nice.
that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
We got time for one more ad.
Sure. This episode is also brought to you by Mod Ministry. Mod Ministry merch creates for the edgy woman, the kind of woman who works hard but plays much harder, who embraces femininity but tests the societal limits. We are not for the faint of heart. We are bold. We are beautiful. Check out Mod Ministry Etsy page for handmade lingerie. 5-star rated seller since 2014.
I just want
Oh.
to take a second to thank every single person who's ordered from my Etsy. I realized I have over 11,000 sales now.
Yay!
Oh my
That's
God.
so great.
That's actually how our store got started. Is
Yeah.
when we moved here, she has a lingerie company, and I had a street apparel company.
Oh my
And then people
god.
would come to our old warehouse and be like, "We want to shop," and we're like, "Well, this is just where we mail shit out."
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That was like us with our two different specialties and what we did. But I do have to say, as soon as I walked in, I was like, I'm buying that dress
Yeah.
to your shop.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you should tell them about the new place because that's what's
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
like
let's
special.
hear about it.
Oh, wow. So when the old place was shutting down, it was basically we're renting. The person that owned it, all the properties were being sold. And,
Yeah.
And so, we knew we were on borrowed time for a while. So we started looking. We were looking at, basically we had a few criteria. One, we wanted to own because we didn't want landlords anymore.
Yeah.
Two, we wanted to be able to live there too because easy commute. But
Also, did you know that the word mortgage is it's derived from a French term that means like death, contract of death plague, a
I-
contract
Oh.
that only expires
That
upon
make-
death.
That,
That-
makes sense,
that actually
and in our case,
Makes a
it's
lot of
probably
sense and
true.
probably true.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
that's
actually, that
makes a lot
that
of
just
sense.
that just went in my brain, and it's going to stay there.
Yeah.
Death
Yeah.
contract.
Death
Yes.
contract.
You know.
But we looked at a number of different places. You know, of course, at first we're thinking we need something old and quirky, and we were even looking in San Marcos at this old Gothic Victorian church.
Still in love with it.
was
I'm still in love with it.
I mean, it was just perfect, and we're like, oh my god! And we're looking at the price, and we're like, if we can get, you know, technically a residential loan, and because it's dual zone, then you know we can just go at it. But the underwriters of the loan decided it had to be a business loan, and well, that's 15 rather than 30 years. So take your mortgage, double it, and on
And that
on.
changes
So,
everything.
So we kept looking, and then we found the place we have now. Now the thing about this place, pros and cons. The cons. It is in basically a condo complex, which is kind of the big new thing right now, is building a condo complex and having the businesses along the front. You know, street
And
facing.
probably why we got torn down to begin with, the old place.
Yeah, and probably what's going where we just left. But I had seen places like this on the market, and every time it'd come up, my initial thought is no. You know, this is not us. This is not what I'm looking
not going
for.
It's like plain Jane.
Fuck that.
Very sterile. Yeah.
But our
I mean, for us, for our style.
Right.
Yeah.
our realtor, Connie Zulu, wonderful realtor, highly recommend her in the Austin
One of
area.
us.
But she approached us and said, "Hey guys, I've got a place. It checks a lot of boxes for you guys. Why don't you come take a look?" And by this point, I'm like, I will look at anything.
Yeah.
We had just gone through a series of mishaps and things just not working out. So I was like, fine, let's go. Now, when I have to admit that when I found out what it was, I went there with the mindset of, I'm going to look for all the reasons to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
This is not us. This is not what we're doing. And then we walk in, open the door, I look around, and fuck.
You're like,
I
shit,
can
I love
see
it.
I can see
Well,
this.
and of course, all the walls are just totally sterile and white, and everything is about as generic as you can imagine. But
You're so good
for
at
me, it was like a
visualizing.
blank
Yeah.
canvas.
Yeah.
And I just started seeing where everything would go, and I was like, shit. And then we go upstairs, and I started seeing even more, and I'm like, fuck. And then figuring out that, so the first 2 floors could be shop, and we could live on the third, and we could put a hidden fucking bookcase right here.
Yeah.
And
Deal
everybody
sealed.
loves it. Yeah, like, damn it, this is ours now.
And
It's like kind of like when you don't want to fall in love and you like, it's like stepping in dog shit. It's kind of like, oops, I didn't mean to do that. That's kind of what this place was.
But people still have sometimes get confused because there's only so much we can do to the outside, and by
Right.
so much I
HOA.
mean nothing. That
Well,
we can do to the outside.
Giant Toth.
But that's where I'm going. So to kind of flag people down so they can see and be like, oh, okay, I think we're in the right place, is an 8-foot tall statue of Toth.
Nice.
That's
So
awesome.
we roll him out when we open.
Every day we roll them out and we roll them back. I mean, those gods, they're very
Yeah.
temperamental. So
Well, luckily Toth,
he's pretty chill.
great.
And he's not as heavy as he looks.
Well, I'm
Oh,
very,
God.
very excited to come check it out.
We can't wait to have
Yes.
you
Take me with you.
guys.
Take me with you.
Road trip.
And we love, like,
Yeah.
you can talk more about the whole idea of, like, how you went from the first floor to the second floor and the feeling that you put there. Because what I am really amazed by is how when you first walk in, it's something special immediately. Like, you walk in and you're like, wow. But you still feel comfortable, especially, like, if you have kids and stuff like that. We wanted it to be also kid-friendly, like, creepy kid-friendly, of course. But,
The bottom floor is the more
innocent,
whimsical.
whimsical
I guess you
is a
could say,
great
and then
word.
as-
And then it gets a little
Antique
more
telephone
serious.
booth.
Stairs,
Oh
it
yeah,
gets
as you go up the
Ascent to
stairs,
darkness.
it does. Yes.
So you get to the very
Creepier.
kind of back, and there's
Yeah.
where we have like
The gallery.
the Oddfellow initiatory robes with the skull
Yeah.
and crossbones on it.
We have a
Nice.
stage.
Cool.
We
And we've
built
got
a
a stage.
stage. So we'll have to
Yes.
have you guys come out for
Yes,
that.
and
Creepy
I
karaoke.
cannot wait for it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Creepy karaoke is a great
Yes.
idea. We have like sword swallowers and other stuff and
Death metal
cards.
karaoke.
Actually, part of the way the shop got started was the Cartomancy cards, which Frank created, which you haven't even talked about that. And that's
true.
like
I
actually
probably
how the
shouldn't
store
have told
started.
you that.
Was the
That's-
Cartomancy
So in
deck,
the
which is
original
like
group-
tarot but different.
So
Yeah.
did we just cowboy this whole thing and like
Pretty much.
asking each other questions?
Well, I just realized I'm like that's actually like that was your specialty. That was the part
That
of
was
Curia
the thing.
Arcanum
So,
that like,
if I could ramble for just a couple
Please.
minutes.
like
We're
we
into
have
it.
it.
So how the whole shop started was with that kind of study
Idea.
group, I guess, and each one of us had our own
Yeah.
projects. And for me, initially, I was going to do my own tarot deck
Yeah.
because I thought, wow, I do a lot of illustrating. And
How did you put this group together? Was this a Craigslist like
It was, well, it was
looking
actually-
for extraordinary occultist
Weirdos.
fans?
For weirdos. Well, we were all friends, and it
Yeah.
just kind of it happened organically,
Swarmed,
and then
yeah.
other people kind
Yeah.
of just came in, and we just went on from there. But by this point, when I sat down to put pencil to paper and start illustrating, I had studied tarot pretty in depth for some time. So every time I went to go draw something, it was just derivative of the archetypes and imagery that you'd find in the Marseille deck and the Rider-Waite deck and any of those. So after I did a couple, I was like, you know what, I need to figure this out. I need to do something else. I remembered Cartomancy. Why don't I do Cartomancy? There's no pictorial language because it's just playing cards. And even methodology. By the time the Western occultists in the 1800s, and by Western occultists in this case, I mean primarily Eliphas Levi, got his hands on tarot. I mean, he just went to town and drew all the correspondences, Kabbalistic, alchemical, hermetic,
Yeah.
voila, there you go. And then, of course, all the way through like Golden Dawn, Aleister Crowley, and then, of course, you had Paul Foster Case, who started his thing, Builders of the Adytum, which his curriculum is tarot. I mean, that is the backbone of the teaching. And years ago, I went through all of that as well. So, tarot is pretty well ingrained in all of the methods and meaning and significance. So I really need to break away to, kind of find my own artistic footing, I guess, for lack of a way of putting it.
He's also
into
a
there.
fine artist, and so I think that has a lot to do with it too.
And the big part of it was methodology as well. So like I said, the tarot had gotten so well codified and defined, and Cartomancy remained this very kind of loose folk art that nobody really had any like, this is the right or wrong way to do it. I mean, even the most famous cartomancer, which was Madame Lenormand, never wrote a single book about how she did it. She wrote plenty, but what she wrote was mostly what is arguably tall tales to kind of boost her reputation.
Right.
But she never wrote a word about how she actually did what she did. So for me, it was a lot of fun to go through and basically take a lot of these occult and magical and mystical concepts and ideas and kind of develop something from scratch. So in a way, that was my project, through that original group of people.
It's a beautiful deck.
I can't wait to
I'm
look at
biased.
it. I'm
It's
so
gorgeous.
excited.
It's really beautiful.
And I think the thing with any artist is you look at something you did like a year ago and I could do that better. You look at something you did 5 years ago, it's like, oh my God, I don't
burn
even
it.
want to see it.
Yeah.
And then you look at something you did 10 years ago and you're like, I didn't do that. It kind of has that feeling, and I always, every time I look, I'm like, I should redo this.
But that's why your real gift, I think, was
but-
like teaching too, because you got them involved in creating their own, like,
and
other readers.
And that I really lucked out in. But really quick, how it evolved. So So I started going out to clubs and markets and fairs, and I just do readings at those things that I look around and see, oh, people have products on their table. Cool, I should have products too. And, so I started republishing some books.
Yeah.
Some old like public domain, occult books like the Megas and the Heptameron
and the illustrations are beautiful. You do such a good job of like. I mean, I know I'm biased, but he's a really good artist. So
You guys are so sweet.
I know,
right?
it's true. I'm actually an asshole. I just really
But so I did that and
Teaching.
slowly built and then adding other stuff. And next thing I know, I have a shop, and then
and we got together.
And we got together.
And I did the
then we
antique
did the
jewelry
shop,
and the like. I love like Victorian, Georgian history and stuff like that. So I would find
Awesome.
really
Awesome
weird.
stuff.
I won't get too into it.
Okay, before we go
That's
off
what I'm
on
saying.
this tangent,
But my point was like,
let me really quick finish this up.
Yes.
So when we had the shop, we met a lot of great people, and someone recommended the Zach Theater to us. The Zach Theater is one of the main theaters in Austin.
I think
that
they're the
puts on,
oldest.
productions, plays, and things like that. And they were getting ready to do a production of Dracula, and they came to me and asked, "Hey, we've got a run of Dracula coming up. Can you do readings in the lobby, before every show?"
Cool.
Hell yeah!
Sure.
Hey, it's
Awesome.
every day, and some of these days it's twice a day, and it's going to be for a month and a half. It's like, oh, logistically, I can't fucking do that, but I'm just going to shake my head up and down.
Well,
Say, of course I can do that. And so the next thing I
We
ended
need
up
how
having
many
to do
people?
was figuring out exactly how am I going to pull this off, because I can't do this alone. So
Yeah.
I kind of put out a call of like, okay, anybody who wants to basically learn cartomancy in a crunch month, come on and let me know. And so we got about a dozen people. Well, actually more than that, but
Narrowed down.
narrowed it down to about a dozen people, and basically put them through kind of a month-long boot
Yeah,
camp.
it really was.
And I tell you, the whole time, of course, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a total train wreck. But actually, it went off without a hitch. I mean, everything went
it really
great.
did. We would definitely work with
Jack-
him again, and then
Jack
COVID
Theater
hit.
was very perfect. And
Yeah.
the great thing is, I still work with a lot of these readers. As
Yeah,
well. And when we have
family.
other
They're
events,
family.
They'll like when we were part of the Oddities and Curiosities Expo. Actually, a couple of the readers were out there running our booth. And of course when we have our trolley bus, which caravan of curiosities,
Yes.
I love
when we
that.
have
Yes.
the trolley bus out over at Bat City Scaregrounds, we're going to have readers in the back. We have a whole area set up for readings because
Yeah.
buses in the back sometimes have kind of that half circle seating
Yeah.
in the back.
Yeah.
And it's like that. And so I had a table, that kind of comes down, built, in
Yeah.
that back
That's
area,
so
the
cool.
person's
Yeah.
there.
That was very
There.
cool.
And
But,
that original group was really something special,
Oh,
if I can say so.
it was
And
lightning in a
I was
bottle.
part
It
of that
really
original
was.
group,
Yeah, you were.
and the fact that he can teach me because I'm more set in my ways.
Mm.
But I thought it was really interesting too, with someone who I did a lot of tarot stuff in the background. I wasn't a reader, but I was more interested in tarot, and so he introduced me to cartomancy, and it made so much more sense to me for me personally, having an interest in Jungian psychology. And Frank is actually certified in Jungian psychology, so I think it's really
Oh.
interesting that he took a lot of. I feel like, in my personal opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like there's a lot of that in there, and it's. Yeah, but it's so good. And
I am
it's-
very
yeah.
excited to dive
Yeah.
into this cartomancy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Me
tried
too.
the tarot and it
Me
just
too. Me
wasn't
too.
really coming
Me
to
too.
me, and I tried several other tools and I cannot find my tool, but I'm very excited about this.
It changed me.
Awesome. What
I
are the-
wasn't
I
as
can't wait.
cartomancy changed me too.
Playing cards, is that?
Yeah.
Which is,
One of
I
the
mean,
tools?
that's pretty much like
Yeah.
when you see, or even sometimes when they call it like gypsy tarot, like it's
The Romani,
actually just,
yeah.
cartomancy. And another thing is the class that particular boot camp did, you can do it too. There is a book. I did.
He
make
made
a book
recordings too.
and
Yeah.
stuff, and say,
You
well,
should
the
carry that.
Well, I don't think the
Yeah.
recordings
But
are
yes,
available, right? But I mean, you made recordings to help you as you wrote the book, right?
I did. I recorded
Yeah.
everything, and a lot of them. So basically, what the book ended up being is like edited recordings and edited like posts that I would put out to the group,
Yeah.
and
It's really
people
well
would ask
done,
questions. They would be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that," so I should probably.
And he took some of like the people and worked on the next.
Yeah, there's actually a series of 3 classes. The first is like an apprenticeship, which is a month long. That one's really quick. Basically, the whole goal of the very first class is just teach you a simple 5-card reading and get comfortable reading. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what it's about. Because you can learn all the technical aspects in the world, but in the end, it's really an art.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
and art is in part intuition and creativity and all of these things. So, what I want to impart on someone is not a dogmatic and rigid way to do it. I want to impart, like, this is how you find your own voice in the art.
Yeah.
Rather than don't just try to mimic or
Yeah.
And
follow a formulaic pattern.
It wasn't pyramid-ish at all either. Like, 'cause it wasn't like he was trying to take a cut from anybody. I don't think you took a cut from
No,
anyone.
I didn't. I actually.
It was all like,
Like
you made what you made.
the money that, I just made sure that Zach paid them.
Yeah, that was the
directly
thing.
rather than paying me. I
Yeah,
wasn't interested
yeah.
in getting cut. Actually, for me, I was just jazzed to be part of it.
Oh God,
That's
we,
what I
we
like
really
the most.
Were.
We have another, like Jordan does readings for us, and we also have a guy named
That
Nick
is
who
so
does rune
cool.
casting.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
So, and he's very passionate too about the ruins, which
Yeah.
is it's
Oh my
always
God!
fun.
Do you guys do lectures too? Like we sometimes do lectures and stuff like that with like
We
cult
don't.
stuff or runes or anything.
No,
Oh,
we
you
don't.
guys! I could totally see you
You
guys.
guys can
doing
come do a
that.
TED talk whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can tell, we're ramblers, but
love it.
we also know other ramblers who are
Yeah.
experts in their field.
I think
So
we're gonna have to have a part 2 of this
Yeah.
episode.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
Up on the
Sorry,
line.
sorry.
We're at the midnight hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do some
God.
shout outs real quick.
Yes. Shout out to Wild Imaginings for letting me be a part of their stage reading that we did last night. It was super, super cool. It was super fun. And it was a really nice way to get back into theater. And then this episode's going to come out before it happens. But this weekend is the drag show. So shout out to my drag family. I'm super excited. It's going to be a great show. Hopefully most or all of my peeps come.
be there.
I have nothing to wear, so I'm just gonna be naked. It's gonna be good.
Naked drag show.
No,
Naked
just
Drag
kidding.
Show.
Make sure it's
That's
not
all
by
different.
school.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
all wigs and heels.
Yeah, that would be an adventure. Anyway, but yeah, so shout out to them.
I'll say buy tickets to the Halloween ball. They're going fast. Maybe if these guys aren't busy, we'll talk them into being on one of the stages.
I feel like they're gonna be pretty busy.
We're
It's
taking over
Halloween.
Brotherwell Brewery
Yeah.
here in Waco.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
pointing, but
dude,
it's a
yeah.
giant
Yeah,
brewery.
it's not
like,
right there. It's literally.
but it's gonna have 2
miles.
stages. We're gonna have all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean,
What-
I know
what
we're
day
really
is that
weird,
on?
but we would
That's
love
on
to.
Devil's Night
Oh.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
on our anniversary.
We'll have to say because that's.
Yeah.
I was about to say they're probably gonna be super
I
busy.
know. We have like
Yeah.
Bat City Scaregrounds as well too, and
Yeah.
they're
Yes,
open. Like
right.
it's like yeah. Oh, we've got so
And then
much.
I'll definitely get with you guys.
Yeah.
I've been wanting one of my little passion projects is to put together a spooky road trip map for people when they come to Texas to hit all the different stores.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
And then I definitely want to
god.
get everybody on
Yeah.
there, especially you guys.
We
Very
would
cool.
be
Thank you.
not only honored, but we would love to like if there's anything we can do to help with that too. Please
Yeah.
let us know. I mean, and then I do like at my background for 25 years has been in advertising and marketing as a writer. So I'm sure you guys have that covered because it sounds like you're really amazing at what you do. But please let me know if there's anything like I can do to
definitely.
help,
Yeah, we'd
or even
love to
just like
collab.
edit. Like sometimes they'll see an
Yeah.
error, which drives him crazy. He's like. I'll find like there should be a comma here. He's like,
Oh, I'm the worst.
Yeah.
I'm the worst. And I'm always because I always have too many things going on, and I try to.
Oh
Is
yeah.
that
go
what
too
it is?
Same.
Is that what it is? Just too many things going on.
I think
plus-
we all do.
I graduated high school, but I cut a lot of classes.
That's
and
what it
then,
is.
And then I hit the road and with my band like the second I could. and
Oh
I
my
was out of there.
god, I totally
So
So
understand.
some of my grammar's not up to par.
dude.
You got any shout outs?
I totally get it.
Yeah, shout out to Sarah Lennox of Wicked Peach Boudoir.
Yes.
I have been making lingerie for like 8 years, and I've never been in front of the camera, and I'm finally gonna do it.
Yes!
That's awesome.
It's gonna be great.
Nothing too risque or anything. It's gonna be like super woodsy, witchy.
No hustler
with
shots.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no,
But,
no.
yeah, I'm excited. So shout out to her.
Yes.
That is exciting.
You guys got some shout outs?
Man, there's just so many.
my
I wouldn't even know where
God.
to begin. So
Well,
I'm just going to
horror
put
web.
a blanket of
Horror
thank
web.
you, all of the curious and
Yeah.
odd folks that
Yes.
are just part
family.
of our family.
Our
We
family of misfits.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but especially I do want to say that we should do a shout out for Horror Web because
Should do a
with
shout.
Bat City Scaregrounds coming up and all the just the free amazing stuff that they did for us in the past, just because they're just fantastic people. You guys would. Oh, you guys have to meet. You guys would hit it off. But I would do a shout out to them just because.
Definitely horror web. Definitely.
And then Joey
and during
is-
October,
yeah.
all of October, Bat City Scaregrounds.
Yep.
Get your tickets now. I did a walkthrough. They didn't even have the lights on. And let me
Yeah.
tell you, it is
It's amazing.
Yeah.
friggin' amazing.
Yeah.
Animatronics.
Yes.
The sets are amazing.
Oh,
it is
so
gonna be
cool.
creepy
And it's-
as shit once.
It sounds like we could do everything too. It sounds like all these shout outs we're doing.
Yeah.
With all these shout outs,
Yeah.
like we can make them all because Bat City Scaregrounds is like several weekends. So we'll just like
Yeah.
we'll
That
just like
is. Yeah.
every weekend we'll do something different.
Road trip.
Yeah.
And a shout out to Grotesque Anomaly for
Yes.
Love
telling us about you guys
And
back
thank
in the
you,
day.
Sterling.
Thank you for reminding us. We
runs
love
the shop
Sterling.
on Thursdays and Fridays.
I
don't
like
know
think
what-
of him as my goth child, but I mean, like, you know, he probably would be like, "What?" But yeah. He's just such a sweetheart because he's actually the same age
Don't
as my
take any
daughter.
offense, Sterling.
Yeah. Well, no, he knows. He's the same age as my daughter. So
If people want to
yeah.
follow you on social media, what do they look
Oh
up?
yeah,
Yeah,
we're there. We're
probably.
Facebook, Instagram. We
Curia
are
Arcanum.
also on the web,
Curiosities.
World Wide Web. Yep.
Sweet.
And
one
on the
of these
interwebs.
days I'll add some products to the online store again. I think we have.
I know,
like,
it's so
maybe
hard to,
half a
like,
dozen
just-
things actually
It's hard to
posted
keep
on there,
up.
but
We're the same too. We're the worst.
Yeah.
Because stuff just changes so
Oh,
much.
I know, and it's
a lot
all.
of it's one of a
like-
kind.
I was just gonna say the same thing. If when you get like a wild one of
and
a
let's
kind
be
stuff.
honest, there's shit you just don't want to post because you don't want to have to go through the pain in the ass to package it and
Yeah.
ship it.
Yeah.
That's
there's
true,
just things that are
too.
like,
Yeah.
this will be a nightmare. If it's a
Nightmare.
book,
The exorcism
right?
kit,
it's all
that was-
okay. But
we
if
had
it's
a-
like a big like brass Tibetan horn. then
Remember
it's
the
like,
exorcism kit from the 1800s that we had to pack up every individual piece? That actually was painful because we were in love with it, but we were so happy. Like one of the things I love most is when something sells to the right person.
Yeah.
Like the Ouroboros rings. Like I specialize in vintage jewelry and antique stuff, and really quickly there was this Ouroboros vintage ring made of copper, and I wanted to wear it because I have small fingers. It was like, oh, so perfect, and I'm like, but it's not for me. Like there's just something that told me it wasn't
Yeah.
for me, and this woman walked in and her name was Penny, and she was looking for a copper Ouroboros ring, vintage, and
happened,
she
yeah.
tried it on and it freaking fit her like a glove.
Wow.
And she was also delightful, and I was like, oh my god, it's meant for her. And that's like one of our very favorite thing is when people come into the shop and they see this stuff. Two favorite things. One is when they come into the shop and like, oh my god, I'm home. And when they come into the shop and they just find something that speaks to them. Everything has a story, and you just find the one that works for you. And
Well, okay,
You know
so
how that feels.
next time that I have a kid-free weekend, which is not very long, let's go. I mean it. Let's go.
We're going.
Let's go.
So look them up online, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for having us, guys.
thank you. And